The owner praised the manager because he had acted shrewdly. The 8th verse of the 16th chapter of the Gospel according to Luke. And pray for all people, all kings and those in high positions, that we might live peaceable and quiet lives with all due respect and dignity. The 2nd verse of the first letter to Timothy. The springboard for this sermon is Jesus' parable of the shrewd manager, which Luke, alone among the evangelists, gives us. And then, after we have swum for a bit, with an oxygen assist from the first letter to Timothy, we will dive deep into the theme of this sermon, which is the art of the deal. Now, you all know that a deal is an arrangement among a number of persons for their mutual advantage. And this deal is made in 3 steps. The first step, you're fired! Step number 2, fighting back. And step 3, getting even. So, step 1, you're fired. When you drive into most small towns in America, just outside the town along the road, there are usually 3 metal signs advertising the days and hours of the 3 service clubs in that town, the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, and the Lions Club. And you know the old quip was that the Rotarians own the town, the Kiwanians run the town, and the Lions enjoy the town. And those are the 3 characters in Jesus' parable. Next Sunday, we are going to, in the parable of Dives and Lazarus, deal with the Rotarian and the lion. Today's focus is on the Kiwanian. This parable of the shrewd manager has in it the owner of land who has rented it out and hopes to make a profit on it, and with that profit, in fact, do some takeovers and get more land. He has entrusted the management of the workers on the land to his manager. And the workers are UAW members about to go on strike, small town merchants, middlemen, so forth. And the manager is always caught between the excessive demands of the owner and the unending complaints of the workers. That contest goes on because of the principal sin, the first sin that appears in the Bible, in the story of Cain and Abel, and that is the sin of envy, which is the sin at the basis of all hierarchies. If everyone in America had $1 million, and there's one person that had $1 billion, that contest would still be going on. There'd be envy. And to know how acerbic that conflict can be, remember that 2 weeks ago yesterday, a 42-year-old Dallas man named Tevon Varlick took a metal guitar and, ranting at God and cursing President Trump, bashed a 7-inch gash in the 7,000-pound charging bull that sits at the corner of Broadway and Bowling Green in the Wall Street district of New York. The manager is caught in the middle. This year, America graduated over 100,000 MBAs from MIT and Stanford and Harvard and INSEAD and you name it. 100,000 MBAs just this year. Those are the women and men caught in the middle. And this manager has complaints lodged against him. We are not told who lodges the complaints. I would guess it's probably the workers who are trying to disrupt the system. And we're not told about the nature of the complaints. Maybe he was taking something under the table when he was writing the contracts. Maybe he was shaving a little bit off the top when he was buying and selling. Anyway, they have complained against him. What we do know about the complaint is that Luke uses the Greek word diasporadzine. It means to scatter. It's what a sower does with seed in a field. Luke uses the same word in the parable of the prodigal son, who we are told goes off and he wastes his inheritance in riotous living. Diasporadzine. So the thing that this manager is accused of having done is scattering the owner's wealth. And it's a reminder to all of us of the extent to which wealth is wasted, not so much by dishonesty as just by the fact that you don't know where all your bank accounts actually are. You've lost track of it. You've got to call your J.P. Morgan guy. How much wealth is wasted just because we, through careless neglect and bad management. So he's accused of diasporadzine, scattering the wealth. And the owner hears about this. He, without giving the manager a second to defend himself, sends out a tweet and says that he's to turn in the books and he's fired. Step number 2, fighting back. The manager has a think internally with himself. He said, what am I going to do? He considers a pick and shovel job, says, I'm too weak for that, that'll kill me. He considers begging, he's too socially ashamed to do that. So he says, I'm going to fight back. He calls in all of the workers before they can even hear he no longer has authority for what he's about to do. And he reduces what they owe. He reduces it by the same amount with which he had initially inflated it. According to the Torah, Jews are not allowed to charge interest ever. Jewish people cannot charge interest. So what this guy has done, the manager, is he has actually charged an initial price on the oil twice what's owed. Why that? We know this from the text. He reduces it 50% because he's inflated it. He's doubled it. Why? Because oil is easily adulterated and therefore carries a greater risk than the wheat, which is easily measured. So he only gets back 20%. So what the manager does is he simply cuts what they owe back to exactly what it should have been initially, thereby winning praise for himself, but also for the owner. So the owner is now a hero in the eyes of the workers, so much so that the owner does not dare fire the manager. Because if he does, they will suspect that the owner himself, in spite of the fact he keeps saying, no collusion, no collusion, no collusion, has colluded with the manager in inflating this initial price. So when all this is over, when the manager has initially inflated the price, when the accusations have come from the workers against him, when the owner has fired him, and when he's now reduced it back, we are right back where we started. It's like, walking 18 holes of a golf course, and where are you at the end of it? Right back at the clubhouse. Except you're a little different. You're a little different. You're sort of like back to even. You're back to even, but it's not exactly even. Remember 2 weeks ago I talked about the new math in Luke 14, the cost of discipleship, the new math. Then last week you had it in Luke 15, where 99 sheep is worth more than one. That's the new math. 99, one is worth more than 99. This is the new math also. It's not even in the sense of quid pro quo, dollar for dollar, one for one. This is a different kind of math. Because the New Testament does not believe in equality. Does not believe that we are equal, because each of us was born unique, and therefore we are different, and therefore we are not the same. We're not equal. Equal under the law, yes. Equal in terms of opportunity, yes. But equal in terms of our gifts, no. Rather, the New Testament holds up not equality, but mutuality. Remember a deal. A deal is an arrangement among a number of persons for their mutual advantage. The word mutual comes from a Proto-Indo-European root, mu and you, from which we get amusement, mutate, mystic, mystery, mysticism, myth, and music. If we were all the same note, there'd be no music. We are different. And there's a refusal in the New Testament to impose a universalism to make us all alike, by making us all equal. That's what the Nazis did. That's what the communists did. So mutuality. It's not even getting even in that sense. It's getting even like when we say even Steven. Like, I borrow my neighbor's car because mine is not working. I drive it all day. I get home too late to get to a gas station. So when I return it to him, I offer him $40 to put gas in his empty tank. And he says, no, I won't take your money. You just buy me a drink and we're even Steven. Or I go to the gym for my weekly class where normally there are 15 people paying $10. And it turns out I'm the only person that day to show up, and the trainer says, I'll train you anyway. And at the end of it, I say, that's not fair to her. I try to give her 2 20s. And she says, no. You just put a nice review of us on our website, and we're even Steven. Even as even Steven, as working together with mutuality. Now, it's easy to do the old math, because 1 always equals 1, and 2 plus 2 always equals 4. And 1 is never more than 99. But to do the new math takes what Luke calls shrewdness. The Greek word is phronimos. We get our word friend from it as in phrenology, that pseudoscience. It simply means the cranium. This is the friend. And Luke says, you've got to have phronimos. You've got to be shrewd, cunning, clever, to work your way through all this. Why? Because there is no acquisition of property without injustice. Why? Because when we were born into a material created universe, which we must violate in order to live. Someone had to cut down a tree to make this. Did that hurt the tree? We don't really know. What we do know is that it took away life. We sacrificed the life of the tree to make this. And not only that, but when we work together, we can't do anything economically without working together. We keep bumping into each other. You know the famous case in tort law? There's a man shooting an arrow. Another man is just out on his morning run, and the arrow strikes the man on the run. Who is at fault? Tort law. That's what we do, unintentionally all the time. There is no acquisition of anything without injustice, but it takes phronimos. It takes cleverness, cunning, shrewdness to figure out, like that manager did, how to work our way through this situation in order to mitigate what's going on. Because we can never have perfection. And in fact, we shouldn't try, because perfectionism, that's totalitarianism. That's what the communists and the Nazis tried. Now, just to dive a little deeper with the first letter to Timothy. Luke and Timothy, that author, are contemporaries. They are writing in the third generation of the Christian movement. Long enough away from the beginnings of Christianity to know that the end of the world is not just around the corner. So Luke and the author of 1 Timothy are trying to modify and domesticate the early Christian message to calm people down. That's why, Mark has 16 chapters, Matthew has 28 chapters, John has 24 chapters. Luke has 52 chapters because he is seeing, the long, steady fall of history over time. And he's asking people, how can we have a Christianity for the long haul of life, when the end is not just around the corner? When the climate change crisis, it's coming, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. He's trying to calm things down. And so is the author of 1 Timothy, who says of all things, pray for all people, and for kings, and people in high authority, so that we might live a peaceable and quiet life. That we might be still, a peaceful and quiet life, with due respect and dignity. The word he uses for respect there is the same word that he uses for piety. Piety not as cultic acts of the church, or piety not as some virtue, or piety not as obedience to law. Piety as respect for everything and everyone in the whole creation. See, Luke is beyond the point where he wants Christians to be total ascetics. No sex, no drink, no nothing. Or total libertines and hedonists, everything at once. Luke and 1 Timothy are saying, everything is beautiful if all things are in moderation. All things. Those of you who remember the old prayer book, especially those of you from England like Will, from the Commonwealth, remember the old prayer book had it in all of the words peace and concord occurred again and again. Prayers for peace and concord. Of course, it was a prayer book written for a monarch. We pray for all people and for kings. No regicide. No American Revolution. We pray for those above us in the hierarchy. Because unless we respect them, they won't respect us. If parents don't respect their children, the children won't respect their parents. We have to have mutual respect. If you don't respect them, they won't respect you. In the old days in the Episcopal Church, in some churches, the people coming back from communion, people were going up. The people going up to communion would greet those coming back having received the sacrament, and they would genuflect. Not to the altar, but to one another. Mutual respect. That's how, in a world in which there's never perfect justice, injustice can be mitigated, perfectionism avoided, and everyone live a quiet and peaceful life with all due respect and dignity. Now I'm going to end with a song from Leonard Cohen, who who died 3 years ago this next month. Some of you might know it. It's entitled Anthem. And I'm going to ask you to sing along with me, the chorus, because it speaks about this in powerful ways. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. The birds they sang at the break of day, start again, I heard them say. Don't dwell on what has passed away, or what is yet to be. Ah, the wars, they will be fought again. The holy dove will be caught again, bought and sold and bought again. The dove is never free. But ring, ring, bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We ask for signs, and the signs are sent. The birth betrayed, the marriage spent. The widowhood of every single government. Signs for all to see. I can't run no more with that lawless crowd. While people in high places say their prayers aloud, they summoned up a thundercloud, and they're going to hear from me. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And as far back as we can remember, at 8 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, and ill report and good report on days sad and days glad, this church has, does now, and always will ring the bell that still can ring. Because that's how the light really gets